Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, we're back. Nick Bahe Bo Ruud. You got your notes up? You ready to go now? You were like, hold on, I gotta get my notes up before we start.
On the page.
last time, hold on. Just for people to know. Okay, so people didn't listen to our last pod. Bo went on a huge rant about hating knee braces for offensive linemen or just knee braces in general. When we get done, he goes, here were my pre-pod notes. And he turns his camera to me, and all it says was knee braces.
I wrote that down like a few days before, and I was like, don't forget this, but I had nothing else.
Your notes were thorough. I'm like, look at this guy.
Knee braces.
This guy really goes the extra mile here. This is good.
Knee braces.
It is. I always reference my iPhone notes. Like my memory's so bad now. If something hits me, if I don't write it down immediately, like I'm not going to remember it, or at least I'm afraid I'm not going to remember it. It's terrible. Not good.
It's terrible. Like sometimes my memory's decent when I'm reading books. Like I'll be like, I remember what I read last chapter. Like, but there'll be times I'll read the night before. At like 10 o'clock, I'll be reading.
That's dangerous. That's like drunk reading.
Yeah, and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, that whole chapter, it's almost like, it almost all went away. Like,
what's scary to me is there are certain movies that I can recite a million lines to, and then there are certain movies I have seen that people be like, explain that movie to me. Like, I don't really remember. But you've seen it? You're like, yeah, I saw it, but I don't really remember
that. But see, that's
you have a great movie memory.
I got a really good movie memory, but there have been the few that I won't know that I've seen. I'll watch, like I feel like I get like 30 minutes or into it, and I'm like, wait, have I seen this?
Right.
And those are the ones I think are probably not good enough to let
Maybe that's what it is.
It's not good enough that it's stuck in your memory. So I always think if those are the types, like that means they're not worth remembering.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, that justifies my not remembering them. I like that. You made me feel better already. Are you ready to overreact this weekend?
I guess, yeah. I'm ready to react.
You are Mr. Reasonable. You're not, you know what? I am officially banning you from the spring game, okay? Because you're too reasonable.
Never. Nick, no, I'm ready to react. I'm ready to get after it here.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is kind of intriguing in some ways. And like I said, I wrote down about 11 different things that I'm like excited to see or questions that I have.
I think it's unquestionably like when you get a new football coach, the first spring game is always the most exciting. I mean, think about Frost. Think about
Callahan.
I remember Callahan's maybe more than anybody's. That first week, I played in it, obviously, but I remember the crowd just being so geeked up. Like, I feel like we sold out or something. It felt like crazy.
I don't really remember Riley's first spring game.
That one I don't remember as much either.
But
Pelini's a little bit, but I do remember Frost and Callahan's probably the most.
I remember, but I truly think that Bill Callahan's first spring game was the most memorable spring game. I mean, it felt like a changing of the guard.
So I remember this specifically because that's how great our fans are. Is we start, the West Coast offense is coming. Callahan comes out and he runs one of his classic, like 3 shifts, 2 motions, and then he did, I think, some sort of like reverse pass, deep ball, and it was incomplete. And he got a standing ovation.
They
got a standing ovation post an incomplete pass.
Right.
Because Nebraska fans were so excited.
Because you just like, wow, this is going to be incredible.
Oh my God. It was great. But I remember that one play because I think Matt Herring went deep and they whiffed it.
I remember being at the game, and I remember that too. I just remember it was a bunch of elaborate shifting and all this stuff, and it just was like, whoa.
We'd never seen anything like it. No. We've been running option football for 30 years.
Right.
Like, what in the tarnation was that? I don't know, but it's either a spaceship or Bill Callahan's figured something out. Like, it was...
Tarnations, what a...
What in tarnations did I just see?
It was incredible, though.
Honey, call the pastor.
I think I saw a UFO out there, man.
We need
the FBI on that play.
We need answers.
So, okay. The first thing I wrote down into one of the biggest reasons I'm intrigued is when we talked about a little bit last week of what the format is going to look like, and it sounds like, again, we're taping this, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, April 19th. So I don't know if we've got an official word on what the format's going to be, but it sounds like we might get ones versus ones.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be live, including the quarterbacks being live.
Yeah. Nick, I mean,
which, whoa.
I'm gonna try to slow my roll here, but Matt Rules keeps on doing everything right.
Seriously, though.
I mean, Nick, football. It is football.
Yes.
And I believe he had a quote in the paper today that said something along the lines of, I've seen a lot of these games on TV and these spring games, and it's been like a show. He goes,
right.
We're not here to put on a show. Like, we're going to play the game.
Yes.
Like, he's saying we want to play the game.
And I'm so on your side of it now. You're so right. You've been on this train, and you reiterated it last week on nobody is good enough. No individual player and the program in general is good enough to act like they're above playing football.
Yeah.
Real football. And the further I get removed from last year's spring game, the more I'm like, come on.
It's just a weird mindset. Like, you're a team that's never won, but you wanna protect anybody that might be able to contribute next year, and you just kind of go like, I don't know. It's a weird mindset. Almost.
It is.
It's almost like, well, these guys are too important that we can't lose them, and it's like, I think the mindset needs to be not that, like, we need every chance we can get to get better so that we're good.
Well, okay.
And not just like, we got to protect these guys that have never proven they can win yet.
Can I fast forward to, I was going to do a potpourri segment at the end.
What?
And potpourri. I think that's a word or something. I don't know. And I love this quote. And this kind of gets into, like, we've gotten into arguments with our buddy Willie and our other buddy Prosco about this, but this kind of goes to what you're saying. Rule had a quote. It was like within the last week. He said, quote, "We have a great fan base. We have great everything. I just want to make sure they understand we're 4-8. It's not a negative thing. We have to earn the right to say we're a good team. We have to fight to be a good team." But I love the start of that I want to make sure they understand we're 4-8. And so I think that attitude needed to get, like, permeated throughout the entire program of, like, guys, I know the stands are full, and I know it's like Nebraska operates, and I'm not saying, there's some, like, our buddies Willie and Adam are like, the best thing for this program would be to have no one show up, and then they'd have to, like, rebuild everything back up. I don't think that's the answer. That's the extreme. But I like that idea of, like, you need to understand you're 4-8. What on earth gives you the idea that you are above anything at this point, including playing a real football game in the spring game and getting tackled?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that we need to have the attitude to always earn it. And, people could easily argue, hey, in the end, if you don't got your best players, it's going to make it harder.
I get it.
I can understand it. But, like, if you got somebody that's an injury risk, keep them out.
Right.
If you got somebody that is that good, that's just like, we can't take the risk. We got our quarterbacks, this all-conference stud, pull them out, right? But, like,
who on this roster fits that?
If you're going to bring 70,000 people in and you're telling me you can't play the game of football, I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how you can't just go play it.
Right.
And you don't have the mindset that, like, we're playing football one time in the spring, one day. You can scrimmage in pieces, and you can touch off, and you can do all the things you want to do to keep people healthy all spring. But, like, if you're going to invite 70,000 people to come, play the game. You know?
And I love the live tackling thing, even for the quarterbacks, because even I think Rule was asked about going live with the quarterbacks, and his thought was, I think you do them a disservice to not go live, where you play at a certain speed when you're not live, and then all of a sudden the season comes and things are happening faster. Mm-hmm. And so you're literally almost not, again, there's a line with all this stuff. We're not saying blindside Jeff Sims and, KO him, all those things. I'm not necessarily calling for that, but at the end of the day, practice is practicing to get yourself ready for the game. And to a certain degree, if you're not making your quarterbacks live at least a little bit, you're not getting them ready for the game.
I just feel like to be a quarterback that doesn't need to ever go live, like you gotta have so many reps in your life. Like it takes, handful of years into their pro career where you're like, that guy's got it. He's just a processing machine. He's got this timing. But man, it's like, like ball security. I just felt like we've had quarterbacks here for a decade that ball security, when the pocket collapses, I don't know that it's natural. It's not looking real. I mean, Adrian, I thought got better as his career went on, especially his last year. I thought he was better ball security. I just think that, man, there was a handful of years there where, like, in the game, it seemed like they'd find a reason to lose the ball.
I can tell you firsthand, and you'd be like, okay, you're talking about high school, but like I remember the first, because obviously being a quarterback, even in high school, I wasn't getting rocked at Southeast practices or anything like that. And I'm telling you, the first time you get hit in a game after not getting hit, you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Now, you realize, especially me, I was always Mr. Loosey-goosey to begin with. I was loose with the ball a little bit when I'd run, but like, all of a sudden, you're getting hit.
I want people to get into this mindset. Think about, like, throwing a precise pass 20 or 30 yards down the field, right? Like drop back, set up, throw that ball, like try to deliver on time. Okay, pretty hard, but some of these guys can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine get your bell rung. You're wobbling, your ribs hurt, and you're just trying to kind of you bit your lip and you're going like, and then you got to go do that again and to throw that same pass on time, precise, 30 yards down the field when everything feels terrible.
Yes.
Because you just got drilled. It's a different, that's the difference between practice and the physicality of like contact is you might have to make those throws then. And the great ones, somehow it doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
Like the people that they get hit and they can't play.
Exactly. That can be a great separator into figuring out who's who. The other thing about the format and live and 1v1s, Rule has kind of been on this thing of like, I don't know about a depth chart. I can't even think about making a depth chart. Well, we might get a little bit of a glimpse into a depth chart if they're doing 1v1s, which is interesting and something to kind of watch for, especially early on. That was the first thing. Second thing I wrote down, and some of this is redundant from last week, but I am very interested. It's worth repeating to reset everything. What is this offense going to look like? We've heard of just about everything, right? Like it sounds like you went to the Old Country Buffet and you're like, I want some crab legs, I want some lasagna, want a cookie, I want spaghetti.
It's like Val's in 70th. It used to be pasta and pizza, and then it was Asian. It was halibut, chicken wings.
Like, I will take some halibut, some pepperoni pizza. I will take some cookies and cream pudding and a salad.
What did they do in the 70th Street Val's where they just said, we're doing everything. We can't not have everything you could dream of.
But that's kind of what we've heard about this offense. It's like going to huddle up, going to get under center, going to be a fullback, going to be multiple tight ends. We're going to like, what is this going to look
Running
like?
Quarterbacks, and then
we're going to run the quarterback. I'm just so interested as to what this is going to look like.
I don't know. I feel like there's a hunch that it'll be a little bit more. I think they're going to run the ball a lot.
I
think they're going to run the ball a lot this spring game, and
they're running the quarterbacks. And is it kind of? I was thinking about this, and you can, homie the clown, homie don't play that stupid question me if you want to. If you're going to run the quarterback, unless you're old boy from Army, homie don't play that. If you're going to run the quarterback, you usually do that out of the gun nowadays.
Yeah.
So you're going to...
Yeah. I mean, they'll do it out of the gun.
It's just interesting. There's going to be a little bit of gun, a little bit under center. It's just, I'm curious to what this looks like. Yeah. Is it... I'm with you. I think my guess is it's a lot of smash mouth running the ball.
Yeah.
I'm curious. That's second thing. Third thing, the quarterbacks. Just like anything else, every spring game, the most interesting thing to watch is the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Casey Thompson can't play. You have you got a new girl in class, Jeff Sims, that just walked in, and you're like, hey, who's the new girl?
Who's the new girl?
Heinrich Harburg just came back from the summer and looks terrific.
Lost 10 pounds. And
But so I'm first thing is Jeff Sims. I can't wait to see what he looks like.
Yeah.
He's an athlete. Man, he looks the part. He can run. You know, Matt Rule gives the line of, I think he's an NFL player. He's got like the tools for that. I can't wait to see what he looks like. Heinrich Harburg has had a meteoric rise. It's so interesting.
it started with his dunk.
Yeah.
You remember
right.
the dunk?
Yeah, right.
I
in
think
that little
the dunk
video.
gave him confidence. I'm a believer in this for whatever reason. Nobody had been talking about Harburg for 2 years, and then
A dunk will
he had
attract
a dunk,
the
and everyone's
attention.
like, "That guy's an athlete," and all of a sudden, maybe he's just good. I don't know.
Okay. I won't divulge too much of this to not embarrass you, but one of the most ridiculous things you've ever said
Don't
to me.
even say it.
Just think about an athletic feat that you think impresses people. You were one time flirting with some girl, won't give the city where we were at, and
No,
you claimed
I did.
claimed that you're playing pool. You claimed that a bank shot pool shot, you
No
hit
look.
it. I didn't know you no looked it, but
No
still,
looked it.
you claimed that you hit a bank pool shot, and this girl was like, "Whoa,
Nick,
no way."
no look, bank shot, called it. Like
Okay, you really believe that this girl went from on the fence about having a crush on you to like all in on you because of this bank shot? Just like the coaches went from on the fence about Heinrich Harburg.
You and my brother give me crap about this. This was long before I knew my wife. Years
of
and
course.
years.
Yes,
Back in the aughts.
yes, of course.
But I will say this with conviction. It wasn't the whole deal, but it was the thing
It was the most impactful
that got
moment.
someone from not sure about you to like you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you told us this. We were at Misty's downtown, you, me, and Barrett. You tried to tell us that, and Barrett and I laughed you out of Misty's pretty much.
So you guys have laughed in my face a few different times. I think it was that, and then the start of the pandemic, we did a Zoom, and I decided I was going to be a stand-up.
You're going to stand up
guy.
the whole time.
No, I was going to be a stand-up desk
Yeah.
guy, and you guys
we
gave it to me.
you.
And I think that
ridiculous.
was my last day as a stand-up desk guy.
Oh, my God. Well, so Harburg, sorry to circle back, whether it was the dunk or maybe he did hit a good bank pool shot, and Rule was like, holy smokes,
Nick,
did you see that?
The dunk.
But it's just interesting when you think with Harburg. Do you remember, I think it was either Mickey or Whipple was asked about Harburg in the season last year, and they almost laughed at the notion of playing Harburg. Yeah. Like, you think Harburg's ready to go? Well, okay. It's pretty amazing to where him and Sims, Satterfield said as much, those two guys are like in a battle right now. Now, granted, there's Casey that's sitting on the sidelines that, in my opinion, is going to be the starter, but nevertheless, who knows? Harburg's had. I can't wait to see. You and I have always liked Heine. He's another guy. He's 6'5". He's big. He can move. He looks the part. I can't wait to see what he looks like.
Yeah, Heine's got an NFL caliber arm too. I mean, I don't know how. The one thing with him that I was never certain of is it's like he has the physical tools. I just never was ever sure he had the intuitive.
Yeah.
The quick, quick decision making, smart, like that whole the intangible part. I just didn't know. Like I've never got to see him play in high school. I never really, got to see him with any real snaps at Nebraska. So I just had no feel for him there. But he physically is impressive.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it'll be great to see him in a live game.
Oh, I can't wait.
Like him and Sims,
I can't wait, man. I think they're
now
two
there's some
specimens.
competition, yeah.
And they're going to run a little bit, which
Yeah.
I think is good. I think making them live elevates Sims and Harburg because they can run.
Well, and then defense actually has to tackle them.
Yes.
So you find out once you get the one up with the quarterback run,
Right.
there's
You
gonna be
think-
there's some one-on-one tackles that when it's tag off, it's like you got to tackle Sims or Heine. They're big, good athletes.
Or even a sack.
Yeah.
You think I got a sack. It's like, did you get him
get
down?
him? Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
Yeah, it's like
you
gotta
may
actually
have
get
touched Heine's Heine, but there's going to take a lot
hey,
more
get
to
your
take.
hands off Heine's
Get
Heine.
your hands off my Heine, literally and figuratively. And then, so those those two guys I'm excited to see. I feel like Richard Torres, remember we're playing Tecmo Bowl? You could sit in the pocket at like the 2-yard line and wait for like Michael Irvin or Jerry Rice to get 100 yards down the football field. And then Aikman or whoever, Montana could just and throw it 100 yards and it was touchdown.
Yeah. Never out of the back of the end zone almost.
I feel like that's Richard Torres. Because all we hear about is that everybody basically admits the dude that's got the best pure arm, I'm talking who has got a straight cannon. It's Torres. I want to see a cannon.
I do too. I want to see him throw it.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, I mean, this is great though. Like with Casey out, we still got 3 quarterbacks that we're very excited to see. And then Chubba's been.
I was going to say, what about Chubba? Is the
I mean, you can't rule him out, obviously, but like, it feels like Chubba and Smothers haven't been mentioned.
Because Smothers is Smothers hurt?
He might.
I think Smothers is hurt, but it feels like Chubba is like, what is it? Lieutenant Dan never remembered their names, Forrest or where they were from, whatever. Like,
oh yeah,
or Mr. Burns not remembering Homer Simpson's. I feel like the rule doesn't know Chubba's name. Like you never hear anything about Chubba.
Yeah, but, I don't know.
I mean, we're probably going to see Chubba. I mean, Chubba started games.
Yeah.
So
his brother is like one of the I saw an article in the paper like who's going to be the next Brock Purdy, like that's who they're looking for in the draft,
right? That's
his brother. So I mean,
I'm
with that name, people, I mean, they know who he is, but it's just I don't know. I think he had a rough start to his career,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
but lots to watch with the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
lots. Next thing I wrote down was running backs.
Who is RB1, which I wouldn't have thought was even going to be a question going into this year.
Well, I'm not so sure that the guy that I think is RB1 wouldn't have been who I think I'd have put him at RB3 before the spring started.
Yes.
I would have thought Anthony Grant and A.J. Allen were 1 and 2, and Gabe Ervin, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, who I'm ready to marry and make him my
Gabe
bride.
Ervin. Maybe Rule listens to the pod.
I think he does.
And he just goes, I'll take these guys' word for it.
I think he came into the coaches meeting and said, guys, I listen to the Stink Pop podcast, and him and Bo Ruud always love this Gabe Ervin guy. What do we think? We don't give him a shot? And they said yes. But there's tons of Gabe Ervin love. He's been arguably the most talked about dude all spring.
And that's what probably makes me question the running back room. I mean, Anthony Grant had the little minor suspension, I think, for grades and that type of thing. But, the one thing you forget is it is a privilege to get the rock. And with new coaching staff, sometimes they really don't feel as obligated as the last staff. It's like, well, of course you're getting your carries and you're the guy. It's like sometimes that's the case. Sometimes new coaches come in, they're like, hey, who's the guy? That's the guy. Okay, we're good. Other times they come in and they really blank slate it and they say, the guy that I like that proves it to me is the guy that's going to.
For sure.
And it feels like it's almost that situation with the running back.
Totally. Great point.
And I think Gabe Ervin, if I'm looking at the Husker hype videos and what they're saying in the paper, it feels like Gabe Ervin right now is the sort of like the favorite of the staff at this point.
And the other thing too, with the little suspension for Grant, the other thing as a new coaching staff, when you come in, you have to set the tone on things, your rules, your standards, your all those kinds of things that if in the first couple months you say, well, we got to do this, this, and this, but then immediately don't live up to that, that's a problem as well. Why are you about to laugh? Are you holding back a laugh? What are you thinking about? Okay.
You told that bang.
One of my favorite books.
Can't believe you just told that.
I can't believe you said that. Okay, hold on. How dare you? I can't believe you actually thought think this happened.
Your boy did.
We need to find that girl, and I need to just grab her and be like, hey, do you remember back in the day a guy hit a bank pool shot? Was that a big deal for you? She'd be like, what? And I'd be like, exactly. Okay.
She'd be like 8-ball corner pocket.
Right. But it is interesting. Not a lot of chatter about A.J. Allen. What?
I haven't heard much,
Did we get a little ahead of ourselves with A.J. Allen? I mean, the sample size was really small. He looked good.
He's not impressive. He wasn't impressive in terms of his build. He was just he was kind of a gamer. I thought he was kind of a gamer kid. So I'm excited about him. I think he's just one that, maybe his time to shine will be in games more.
Right.
So we'll see. So, I mean, in the end, though, I think sometimes we forget, like, Gabe Ervin, they say he had a great offseason, which means, like, he is working hard and he looks the part. He is a big dude who's built, and I think sometimes the confidence a coach gets from, like, well, I know in my offense, whether we block him perfectly or we block him just okay, if that guy's going through the line's going forward, right? So it's a little bit different,
right?
When you got a bigger back. Like, I think you can rely on the big back if all else is equal, almost.
I agree. And the last guy, I've got a new nickname. Let's see if you like it. So the last guy is Ramir Johnson. Ramir Johnson is Michael Myers. You got to completely decapitate him, burn him, have Elon Musk build a space shuttle and shoot him to Mars for him to not factor into the situation offensively. Ramir Johnson is Michael Myers. Like, he is just always just going to be a factor.
I'll give him some credit, too. I think he's sort of he's hung around in an era where people don't hang around.
Right.
Like, I kind of respect that. I respect that he's just, like, he keeps working hard, and I don't know what happened last year that he couldn't see the field last year. Couldn't get on the field, but he seemingly had a good attitude and did his job. So I'll give him credit for that because I respect that.
So do I. So, I mean, between Irvin, A.J. Allen, Anthony Grant, Ramir Johnson, there's some interesting guys to watch for.
Yeah. But in the end, Anthony Grant was
the guy and had a good year. A pretty good year.
He had almost, do you have 1,000 or almost 1,000?
Oh, man.
I think he had almost 1,000. I think he had 900 some because they know he was close there at the end of the year.
He had to. Now, I will say he had 1,000.
He had 1,000?
He had over 1,500.
What?
No. That was his junior college. I was like, whoa.
Let's see.
Because he had a really
915 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, 76 yards a game. So, good year. I mean, I thought he had some games he carried us.
Remember our favorite play of the Rutgers game when dude trucked homeboy on the sideline, and I truly feel like that play turned the game.
I know it did.
Yes.
And it was a play of pure toughness, and that was so. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to forget that guy carried our team in a couple games.
Yeah. So running backs be interesting. Next thing I wrote down was the offensive line, and we talked about this a little bit last week. Rule has talked this group up from almost the first time he could talk about the group to the media, and tried to say there's this narrative around here. This offensive line is the problem. I don't agree with that. Well, we don't want to go too far, but it'll be interesting to see if there's any discernible, noticeable, tangible, visual difference or improvement with this unit.
Yeah, I mean, I told you how much my notes came into play for the leg braces.
There's going to be no braces. So they're going to be out there pulling, getting to the second level, just international house of pancakes everywhere.
Yeah, I think for them, like I said, even in the paper today, it's like it's more in the offensive line. Like, they're really, like, I don't know if it's like we need to leak the story again to the World Herald for the third consecutive week. Like, right. I don't. It's seemingly something's going on that they feel pretty good about.
I do wonder. You brought this up of like a lot of these returning guys. They're not 6'2", They're big dudes. And I was listening to Rule talk on Andy Staples' podcast, and he was talking about his time in particular at Baylor, where he talked about how he was so shorthanded with the offensive line that he was starting offensive linemen that weighed like 270 pounds, right? And so I think when you've lived that world, when all of a sudden you're in a world where you have like at least body types, you're like, well, this can't be that bad.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about last week. So maybe it's a little bit of that. The thing I'll be interested. Ben Scott is the Arizona transfer. He's probably going to be the starting center. Yeah. He was ranked as the 17th best center in the country by Pro Football Focus last year. Only Michigan and Minnesota had higher ranked centers in the Big Ten. So at least on paper, according to a bunch of people for Pro Football Focus that grade this stuff, Ben Scott's a pretty good player. I will say Donovan Raiola, he went from like the fan base's like guy that they had slid under the microscope and were like, okay, we're going to be watching very closely, and we got one foot out the door. I feel like it's now Garrett McGuire, the wide receiver coach. I feel like now I feel like every year, for whatever reason, there's one position coach that gets slid under that microscope.
Yeah.
I feel like it's McGuire and not Raiola, and I don't know if that's fair or not, but McGuire's just this youngster,
McGuire's just so young that there was just talk of it, like some recruits won't even it's almost like a non-starter that you don't want to, maybe that comes from their parents or something, he's like almost too young to be their coach, or they need a father figure type of coach,
which I think is all valid, to be honest with you.
It is valid, but I do when you read about him, you hear about him, he really is supposed to have a sharp football mind. Son of a coach who now is the head coach at Texas Tech. And grew up in that Texas high school football world, where I think he maybe is potentially a future, really great football mind. The hard part is he's got to recruit now and next year, and he's 23, 24, it's young.
And we'll get into this in our next thing, but I or maybe we can just move on. Anything more with the O-line? I mean, I just think that Raiola thing's interesting now, because it sounds like Dylan and Georgia are they are in the corner at the bar freaking making out hard.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here with 2 tequila shots, and we're like, dang it.
When they break it up, I'll go talk to him.
No, I mean, Georgia and Dylan Raiola are over there just having a PDA moment, and all Nebraska fans are just like, oh, man.
It's okay. He was just drunk.
They went to the jukebox and played Crowded House. Hey now, don't dream it's over. But so I just think it's interesting, though, that Raiola has gone from for me, it's just my feel is that Garrett McGuire's under the microscope a little bit more. But we bring up McGuire. The other thing that I think is tough on McGuire is that he's taken over a wide receiver room that right now is a little because that's the next thing I wrote down. You have a massive, gigantic, enormous void to fill in Trey Palmer. The further I get removed from last season, how motherfucking good was Trey Palmer?
He was just a unique talent. We have never seen that kind of speed. We haven't. We've never seen that. We may never see that again. He's like a 4.3 40 guy, and it's not hard. It's pretty easy for him. He was it was easy. And yeah, that's pretty unique that we, like I said, we almost were shocked when we saw him have those games. We're like, God, what is this?
I mean, remember the Purdue game? It was it was insane. Yeah, every time it would be like a bomb touchdown every play. He would have a couple of bomb completions or bomb touchdowns every game.
Yeah, he won us 2 games probably.
Yeah. So that's a massive void to fill. And so I'll be curious to see Marcus Washington, a.k.a. First down,
but we got 2 to go.
First down and 10, 8-yard comeback route caught by Marcus Washington, and Marcus Washington signaled for them.
Okay, so this Garrett McGuire, I got some advice for you. Day 1, we work on that. Day 1 is guys, in the wide receiver room, we will not have 1 first down.
I would love if he had a cut up.
The first down.
I would love if he had a cut up in the film room of all the times Marcus Washington signaled for a first down when it was not a first down. I'd be like, what are we doing here, Marcus?
Yeah.
Again.
We've worked on this.
2 yards short, calling for a first down. Next one, 3 yards short, calling for I want that. Okay? But I love it.
There are
part of me wants him to, now I want him to every into it, and every catch, he's just that's his
reverse to Washington. Ooh, tackled for 6-yard loss. Signals first down.
But he's important. On paper, is he the number 1?
I would say my guess is this
Billy Kemp.
Billy Kemp from Virginia is probably going to be our
numbers
number 1.
Aren't crazy though. You know what I mean? I'm with you. I would say him or Marcus Washington are your number 1s.
Yeah,
but
Washington's sort of the best guy coming back for Nebraska. But this Kemp, I think he's a guy that's like, he's caught a lot of balls. Like in the end, it's like if you've caught a lot of balls,
right?
Like
he's little. He's only 5'9".
Yeah, he's the guy that's going to get open, catch the ball. Washington's not necessarily a burner, but like he was a pretty good.
I thought he was fine. I thought Marcus Washington was a pretty good player. We're giving him shit of the first down thing, but I like Marcus Washington
for sure.
You got Isaiah Garcia Castaneda is back, which what a bizarre. I mean, that is just dude caught he mossed somebody in the first game in Ireland. He mossed somebody, and then a couple games later, he's in the portal.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of him because he was all right, but he didn't. He like I say, he never jumped off.
It was like when shit went south with Frost. It was like I think got too worried about. Because I think the way I understood it was he entered the portal to maintain eligibility. It was like the second Frost got canned, his whole thought process was, I got to think about next year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, he's capable.
Which is fine, but I'm trying to think if there's anybody we're missing.
Xavier Betts?
Well, Xavier Betts he's an obvious talent, but like, I don't even know where to start with him.
I feel like he's got to like Billy Madison, like complete every grade and class possible to just get to where he could play. Like the way listening to SIP, even listening to Rule Talk, like it sounds like he's got a lot of work to do academically to just be eligible.
Oh, I see. Because he can't like start fresh.
I'm not sure. I mean, the guy left the team. I don't know what he was doing, if he was actually going to class all this time. So he might be way behind academically. Yeah. I think he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. So that's where I don't even know where to start with him. I think he could contribute. I don't think he's in a place to get to the place mentally where you're going to be one of the guys. I think it's a big leap. I think it's a big leap to just have this sort of like the mindset of like, I'm going to dominate. That's another mindset than like, hey, I'm trying to remember the plays and just, contribute. I think he's trying to be a guy that can contribute.
He's
not ready to dominate.
And he's got to show, I mean, he's got to prove that he can be dependable, all that stuff. Like,
oh, yeah.
But are those the names, like Washington, Garcia Castaneda, Billy Kemp, like those are the main three guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have other dudes.
I felt like I've seen some of those videos. I was trying to see like who's like, let me see if I can remember what number that.
Because some of the guys, I mean, it's a lot of.
Yeah, I think it's Washington and
Joshua Fleeks, Ty Hahn, Sean Hardy.
So let's talk about Fleeks. Is the guy from Baylor that played with under Rules like his first year. It never was a huge factor there, but like I think he's a veteran that he could contribute. But yeah, I'm curious to see if there's any of these younger guys
that pop
that like have to start like emerging. I don't know if there's any like. We haven't heard of any emergence yet from somebody that's like not obvious.
Right.
So this is always the spring game's a great example of, it's sort of a confidence builder. Like if you can see yourself catching touchdowns and you do it in a spring game, by the time you get into fall camp, you go, I'm ready to do that in a real game.
Right.
Because you've never done it maybe say on a college level. So the first step is, can I score and catch balls in a spring game? Like, and then the next step is, well, now I can do it in the start of the real season.
So it would be nice. It would be nice that when you and I are recording a recap of the spring game, we are talking about a couple of new wide receivers. Like, hey, that guy looked okay or whatever.
It would be very disappointing if we don't have. I mean, I think we know the running backs.
Yes.
If we don't come out of the spring ball with saying like that receiver there, probably the two positions like defensive backs and receivers are probably the two positions I want to be like, who is that guy? That like an emergence of somebody that we didn't know out of those two positions.
What's interesting, there are a lot of defensive backs returning.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Hartzog and Miles Farmer and Buford. Like, you got a lot of guys that played, Quentin Newsom, like a lot of dudes that are back, but.
And then a lot of those guys there's a couple of those transfer guys that didn't really play that much last year. And then a couple transfers for this year. There's, I think, one guy from Florida this year that has a chance.
Because it's weird that you say that, because I'm kind of with you, but when I've listened, I'm one of those guys, I try to listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of different radio shows, I just want to, I'm curious. I'm just like, I like to sponge up just the rhetoric and and who's, because I would say the narrative is that like the defensive backs are loaded. And I'm like, I mean, loaded with names that you'd know, but I don't know if there's anybody out there that is like, or it's, maybe load is not the right word. Like
they got depth.
They got depth, and you have a good, like that group I feel comfortable with.
I think they may have like a decent amount of scholarship guys, but that might be one where they like literally have to, like, guys got to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to get the old heave ho.
Yeah.
Because I wrote that down as that can suffice. I wrote down the secondary. People are saying they're loaded. Let's see it. That's what I wrote down.
We need, like, it needs to be competitive to get on the field.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we've had too many times where it's just like, it didn't feel like it was that hard to get out in the field.
Right. And where's Tommy Hill? What's Tommy Hill doing these days?
He's back to defense is what I was under the impression.
Why? I don't know why.
And he's listed as a DB here. He's listed.
Nothing I love more than Tommy Hill. He's my guilty pleasure. He's my like Twix or Kit Kat of a football player. I'm like, oh yeah.
I give it to him. He at least wanted to return kicks.
Every kick.
He's confident, but yeah,
I'm Team Tommy Hill. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, start of that season, he was.
I know. Oh boy, not good. Okay, next thing I wrote down. We get our first look at Tony White's 3-3-5. Mm-hmm. What does it look like? Down to down, different looks. Like, I'm just so fascinated with, a part of the 3-3-5 that Rule was drawn towards is it allows you to potentially get your best players on the field, and you can kind of I'm just curious, mainly in terms of just bodies in the trenches, like just at the snap. What does that look like?
I can in my mind kind of like, I can see the 3-3-5. I can see some of the ways people are doing slants and fitting in, but like, I want to see who they're playing at which spot. Like, I know they got like Butler and some of these guys playing that jack spot, but like some of these guys are playing multiple places that are very different spot. Like right over the nose or on the end or the jack or a combination, or they're stacked. Like, those are very, very different positions. But yeah, I'm excited to see like how it all morphs together, who's where, and like how the movements are. I know very different.
Okay, good. I'm glad you weren't going to hold me to clown me again with that one. But like, as on a very simple, broad way, like baby pool level, I just want to see how it looks and how they're lining up and how they're fitting into things and moving around.
I mean, we've all ran like on third down, like we ran a 3-3-5, to a degree, right? But like a base 3-3-5,
right?
I don't think I've seen a team in the Big Ten run it.
I don't think so.
I don't think I saw a team in the Big 12 run it. When we were in the Big 12, at least, because Baylor ran it, I think, by the time Rule was there. So I think there are, and TCU ran it this year. So there's teams that run it. It's just like, I just have never been really like the conferences I'm focused on, either when I was in the Big 12 or when now we're watching
Big
the
Ten
Big
football.
10. I just have not seen a lot of 3-3-5. Where
I haven't either.
I know what I'm looking at here.
Right. And so I'm curious as to just, and not that this matters, you get yourself into trouble of like, if you just would screenshot something at the snap of the ball, just what it looks like.
Yeah, like especially once, to me, it's like against 11 or 10 personnel, easy, right? I want to know like when they go 12 personnel and they come out in I formation or like an ace formation with two tights, like, are you out of it? Or do like, I want to know, like, is there ever times where you like are stacked in a really weird position? I just don't know.
I don't know.
I would assume you kind of have to morph out of it, but like against the I formation, like how does that morph? Like, what does it look like? So it will be different.
Yeah. And one of the things that Rule talked about that he liked about the 3-3-5 is that he likes to be that team that's hard to prepare for. Because I'd imagine if you're an offensive lineman, you're going over your, blocking schemes. Well, no two plays are maybe going to look alike in terms of where your guy is or who you're chipping to or who you're doubling on or whatever. So it makes your blocking schemes challenging to prepare for.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit more. I mean, I think you pretty much then have to, you don't have to, I mean, you can always zone, but like there still is that element of, like you have protections and you have like, it causes a little bit of confusion. But you also like, I always felt like it feels like it would be harder to defend the run to me. I always felt
yes, I agree.
So that's why when I say like 11 or 12, 12 or 21 personnel are the ones I want to see. Look at what do they actually do with the 3-3-5?
Right.
Do we just got to get out of it, or like are there ways to maneuver, which I'm just not as familiar with? So I want to see that power run versus 3-3-5, or the morphine of it.
The next thing I wrote down, and there's not really a ton to elaborate here, but just pass rushers. Last year, I just got hammered and drunk on the pass rushing Kool-Aid. I thought Mathis and Nelson and Caleb Tanner were just Mathis got sacks.
Was a hit.
It was one of the biggest songs of all time.
But he needed about 5 sacks in that first game, and that thing would have topped the charts.
It would have been incredible. I think I would have been on Jimmy Fallon at some point. Like, next guest, oh my God, he's got this song. It's a parody. It's Mathis got sacks. It's Nick Bahe, everybody. Oh my God. But okay, so I mean, I'm curious what the pass rush situation is going to look like. I think is Jason Peter Jr., Ty Robinson. I think he's on the shelf. I think he's banged up.
He won't be playing.
But you got the Polar Bear, Jamari Butler, Stephon Wynn. There's a A&M transfer as well. Even Luke Reimer, he's Elijah Judy. Reimer kind of fitting in there. I just want to, especially with I think a part of what the allure of the 3-3-5 is your creativity of bringing pressure and different things like that. Just I don't know how much we'll get to see. And maybe this is more of like a big picture question, just like pass rush has always been a question ever since Randy Gregory packed his bags and left the 402. He'd been searching for a pass rusher.
Yeah. That'll be a part of just seeing that defense. But I think there's no question, it's Butler and Gunnarsson are the two guys coming back. And then it's like, what do we got out of these transfers? I don't know. I just don't know with transfers. I'm always slow to be excited about the transfers because I'm like, they couldn't find their place at another. I mean, that doesn't mean that there wasn't circumstances, but it's like,
who is old boy from Texas Tech that walked here that missed like the first?
He's still walking.
He has not arrived. Is he here yet? Anybody got an ETA?
Devin Drew's still walking.
Devin Drew is currently in Colorado. He made a wrong turn like Lloyd Christmas, and he's like, oh, he hit the Rocky Mountains, and he was like,
I thought the Rocky Mountains would be a little bit more rocky than this.
But no, I'm with you. Like
Devin Drew's still walking.
Devin Drew is yet to arrive. It's coming. He'll be here soon. Okay. Curious what that looks like. We talked about the secondary. The thing I wrote down is just who steals the show. There's usually one guy or one play. Remember, Jamal Turner early in his career hit a post touchdown and like did a flip into the end zone, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's a guy we love." Oh yeah. Last year, I think it was maybe Garrett Nelson and Anthony Grant had the one touchdown run. AJ Rollins, the tight end, had a couple of catches that people were excited about. If you had to give a prediction, who's everybody at the bars afterwards after the game? Like, hey, you see.
I'm thinking two guys. We talked about them earlier in this. I think between Heine and Gabe Ervin, running back and quarterback, like those guys are going to be running the ball. I think if Sims gets the start, though, he'll have the number 1 O-line, which is an advantage. If Gabe Ervin gets the start, he'll have it. So, like, you would think it's going to be between one of the two quarterbacks and probably Ervin.
I wrote down Ervin. That's my pick to click.
Ervin, who I think right now is in that RB1 spot, you want to be with the first offensive
Makes
line.
A huge difference. So but it's always, will it be a excluding Sims? Will there be somebody off the board that we are,
I hope so. What we want is, I want to give a shout out to my boy Stuart Bradley, but Stuart Bradley made his name in the spring game. So he had some like big tackles and like absolutely drilled a couple people, but that was, I remember like seeing that and being like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
And it was like, from then on, he was like a known entity in Nebraska.
Right.
But it took this, like, he was a walk-on And
which is just wild, especially when you look at. I mean, Stu's a specimen. If you've never been around Stu, Stu is a good looking athlete.
He is. He's a monster. But yeah, he got overlooked in high school, got injured in high school, but he just needed his platform, and he was on. I think he was on the white team, and he was, which was like you're playing against,
right.
But like you rip it up, and like you got a name, and like. That's all you need. You need one time to stand out.
And that's a good little anecdote to like, we can poo-poo and say we're not going to overreact, but like the spring game can matter for people. It can change the trajectory of certain people's careers and like
wholeheartedly. Yes.
It can matter. It especially in this sort of instance, your first impression to a new staff, a new whatever, like it can matter.
Me and you talk about confidence a lot. I just think there's an unquestioned like you got to be good if you're going to be good, but like sometimes you need confidence to get you over the hump.
I agree.
To just get you to use your abilities more like naturally. And I think sometimes these are the games that there'll be one or two guys that this game springboards them because they get confidence. And nothing else. They get confidence, then they can play. And that's all they need.
The last thing I wrote down was just like, this is the first time we've seen Matt Rule in videos coaching. We've seen him behind a podium doing press conferences wearing a Nebraska gear. Like, this is going to be our first time we get to see him with a headset on at Memorial Stadium on the sideline. I'm just curious if we learn anything, like his vibe on the sideline, how he operates, just all those things. I'm so excited to just see Matt Rule actually in the position being the coach.
I don't know this might sound strange. I have almost a hard time picturing him coaching.
Yeah,
I'm like used to him as some sort of like other figure.
He's almost so good as a CEO, speaker, spokesman.
Yeah, that he's not the coach.
That it overshadows that, like, he's the coach. Like, oh boy, is that guy like I
think that's the last.
It's like a White House press secretary being so good that they're like, is that the president? You're like, no, that's just like I don't know.
It's weird. I like can't quite picture him doing the actual job he's supposed to be doing, which is coaching.
Like I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I wrote it down. I'm like, and it's weird because he's obviously, you saw him coach at Baylor, you saw him coach for Carolina. It's not like you've never seen him on the sidelines before.
I guess I never really.
Well, you've watched him, but you didn't.
I never
intently
focused on him. That's why
And we overdo. Bo, oh God, he was yelling at this guy too hard, or Frost, who is he talking to over there, or what, Riley, is he care? Yeah. Bill Callahan's got Bill Callahan always had just a sheet in front of him too. The throat slash, he's throat slashing people.
Remember there was a throat gate or slash gate or something like that?
The throat slash is a bold move.
But he denied it. That was why he got
the guy didn't do that.
Didn't do that.
I would never slash your throat.
Scratching my throat, something.
I shaved.
I think he said, cut it out. I said, cut it out. And I no, you did.
So I'm just interested with Rule, like what we're going to see. It's our first chance to see this guy and fall in love with him. So we're going to do.
I'm setting a low bar for him for me to like him.
Oh, I know. If he does anything, I like him. One of the last things here was I just started writing down, top 5 players I want to watch. I couldn't come with a defensive guy. Maybe I'm too I like quarterbacks. Who if you had to pick a defensive player, you're always linebacker, but I feel like we haven't heard a lot about Reimer.
I'm not going to say Reimer because I know what Reimer's good. It's more like between Butler and the couple of those transfers, like Judy and Chief Borders,
right?
Gunnarsson, and then the polar bear. I still don't know what we have in the polar bear. He's big and he's strong, but I just don't know if he can move. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be able to move to play this game, and so I don't know if where he's at. He may have made the jump because I think he's leaning up a little bit where he can use that strength maybe a little bit more effectively. Because I feel like he was never in a position to use I'm just this strong. He was always trying to find his footing almost. So I think between a few of those guys, I'm just looking for who's going to emerge. Who's going to emerge?
Yeah, I mean,
the guys I know, like I know Miles Farmer, I know Newsome,
Hartzog.
I know what I'm getting. Hartzog. I want to see somebody else.
Yes, maybe that's what's hard about. I don't know, because I wrote down Sims, Harburg, Billy Kemp, Gabe Irvin. Like those were the guys that jump out at you of like, I want to see what they look like, you know?
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a defender. I couldn't find a guy that I was like, you know what, that's the guy I want to see.
Between Judy, Borders, Butler, Gunnarsson.
Those are your dudes that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I would say Hunt Masher.
The polar bear.
Okay.
That's all I wrote down. The other thing I wrote down, it'll be interesting. Frank Solich is back. He's going to be honored. We're going to reverse the curse. It's finally going to happen. I just wonder what it's going to look like, what the environment's going to be like.
Hope they maybe like halftime or during a break.
I hope it's not fast. I hope it's like, give
him a couple minutes and people will. I mean, the dude should get a standing ovation.
Yes,
he should, because one, he was a great player here. Yeah. He was a national championship winning coach here. He took our team as the head coach to Big 12 titles and
a national championship
game. And then he got fired for winning 9 games.
Right. And now he went to Ohio, and if I'm not mistaken, the field in Ohio is named after him. Like he that's what's cool about Frank. Frank went to Athens, Ohio, and just was a great coach for 20 years there.
Yep.
Almost 20 years.
And I have such fond memories. You grew up about 3 houses down from Frank Solich.
Yeah.
He lived right by you on South Hope Court.
Yeah.
And right by Rousseau Elementary, like just middle of the nice, regular neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not living in the glitz and glitz. Like it's the most regular Joe house.
We had his spare key because, neighbor, like if you ever locked, like there were times they would lock themselves out of their house and like his wife would have to come over and we'd have to like I'm sure there were times you were over, but like Frank rarely, like I rarely saw Frank because Frank was, I mean, those coaches' hours are crazy, but like the few times I would see Frank's car turn in the street and I was out playing, boy, I tried to make the most athletic play in the world.
I do remember because we played pickup football in the street there, right? And like I remember one time we were like more down the street than in the circle, closer to Frank's house, and we were playing. Like we were going at it. We were probably, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, whatever. And Frank turned in, and we're all playing football in front of Frank Solich's house. It was a pretty good feeling that he saw us.
And I think he probably gave us the thumbs up and all that, So like I have a soft spot. You committed to Frank. Frank recruited me.
Yeah.
I remember the one visit I went on, I went into his office and like I love Frank Solich. So I am very excited that he is going to have his moment where the fans can shower him with praise and love because he deserves it. I wonder if it'll get emotional at all. I'd imagine. I just hope there's a chunk of time. I hope it's not like, fast, and it's as simple as like, hey, and then that's it. Like I want more than that.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be quite as fast as like those commercial break. Hey, say hi to, it's
like fans, here's the flute player that in the flute national championship. This is Frank Flute. Fans, let's hear it for Frank Flute. And then it's like, stand up and shout. It's 3rd down and 2. And it's like, I don't think it's going to be that. I hope it's not that. I want a bigger, and I'd imagine he'll come on with the TV crew and talk.
Yeah.
I want a lot from Frank. I feel like is that too much to ask? I just hope it's he gets
maybe we take it one step further. Maybe it's like we're gonna have some sort of ceremony where we're gonna reverse the curse. Like we need to burn something. Burn something. Voodoo doll.
Well, they just came out with a new Herbie Husker logo.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they take like some old Herbie logo or some.
Weird? Now that like it's funny the things you like don't notice. I never noticed that he went from blonde hair to brown hair. But now that you look at the brown hair, you're like, God, that was a boring Herbie Husker.
That was, don't you?
The blonde hair farmer Herbie's way more interesting.
Right.
And I think they made the new one like not nearly as buff and in shape. He's more like a farmer. He's like, hey,
dad bod.
I kind of like, Nobody does that, so I kind of respect that we kind of went the other direction.
Yeah, because every
every
other mascot's just like like Arnold Schwarzenegger
and you know what? So I don't know where I saw this article. This is a bizarre reference here, but like I was reading this article on all these things that are basically like they went through like cars and like logos for these big companies, and they're all morphing into basically the same thing. Like they lined up 30 different SUVs,
and they all kind of look similar.
You can't tell which one's which. Like
wow,
Volvo, Audi, Mercedes,
GMC,
Toyota.
Here's
like
it.
The model, and they're all white. And you look at them. There's 30 cars lined up in like a big thing, and you're like, you really can't tell the difference. And then they showed how every one of these big corporation logos becomes like the same font. Like they used to be very different.
Why would you? I wonder why that is. Because you would think the whole point of a logo is to be memorable and different and identifiable.
It's now to be the most boring blah thing that plays to the middle, and there's no.
Yeah, maybe you want. I don't know. That's weird.
Well, that's why they're doing it. Because it's like take no risks here. The proven metric is this.
Right.
But they're all becoming the same thing. So like it's losing its uniqueness. Right. And so I was reading that, and you're like, God. And even like they're things like women's faces. They're all doing things to their faces to all be the same now.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is kind of the opposite of what they're doing with Herbie Husker, so I like it.
I know. He is not, but he's not Mr. Huge Pecs, huge guns.
He's just like, I got a corn husk.
I mean, he truly looks like a dud.
farmer.
Like he had 5 pancakes, 5 slabs of bacon, and
he husked some corn.
Yes, husked some corn, came inside, sat on his recliner.
He's holding up the number 1 now.
And it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's great though.
Maybe there needs to be some sort of ceremony of some kind,
but in that
a sacrifice of some kind.
Yeah, maybe we burn the old Herbie.
I don't know. Maybe Frank takes the Der Wiener Slinger and like shoots Little Red with a hot dog or something. I don't know what.
2003. I don't know. Maybe or maybe we need to burn something to reference that Colorado game in 01. Yeah. I feel like from then on we were on shaky ground or something. So maybe that moment we need to
just a picture of a buffalo or something.
Or get the stat sheet, the official stat sheet from that game.
The official box score gets put into a
video of it, and just
burn the tape.
Burn that Colorado game because it was
maybe there's got to be an original tape of that game. Frank has to put it into a trash can that's on fire, and then we all sit there and we watch it burn.
And we all go, reverse the curse, reverse the curse, reverse the curse.
So there you go. I mean, anything else? I don't know. That was supposed to be set the table for the spring game for everybody.
I think it's set.
I think we've set the table. We will recap it. We'll overreact to it. Or in Bo's case, we'll just react reasonably and responsibly. And that's what we'll do. Okay?
Okay, I got one last thing to tell you.
Oh, no way!
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.